Lux your way with the Lux Cravings boxes from Taco Bell. There's the classic $5 box, the indulgent $7 box, and a whole new obsession in the $9 box, the Flamin' Hot Grilled Cheese Burrito. Try the Lux Cravings boxes at Taco Bell today.
Hey Bronco Nation, this is Boise State football wide receiver Ben Ford. I've had to face some setbacks on the field this past season, but toughness isn't about staying down. It's about getting back up. I am proud to represent Lithia Ford of Boise, where you can find the largest selection of Ford trucks that are built tough and, like me, handle the hits and keep pushing forward. Come check out the incredible inventory and competitive pricing at Lithia Ford of Boise. And when you buy here, you're not just getting a truck, you're supporting Boise State athletics and Lithia Ford NIL partnerships. Come see us at Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
As sports fans, we may cheer for different teams, but there's one thing that we can all agree on. We want the game to be big. And with 3 levels, 30 cabanas, a 143-foot screen, 6 clean pools, and endless cold drinks, it doesn't get any bigger or any better than Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. All sports, all seasons. It's more than a pool deck. Stadium Swim. It's the only thing like it in the world.
The final buzzer is sounded on another night of Mountain West basketball, and it's time to break down the action with Tom Moser on another night in the Mountain West, presented by Circa Sports. Headed to Las Vegas for the Mountain West tournament in March? Make sure to stay at Circa Las Vegas and watch all the action at Stadium Swim, where the sports are on 365 days a year. Another night in the Mountain West has interviews, analysis, opinions after the final Mountain West basketball game of the day wraps up. All BNN broadcasts come from the Sun Cruiser Studios. Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea, made with real iced tea and real vodka. It's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. Crack open a Sun Cruiser and let the good times cruise. The title sponsor of Bronco Nation News is Lithia Ford of Boise. Check out our full inventory of vehicles online at lithiafordboise.com. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho. Did your team just get a big win? Suffer a bad loss? Come discuss it with us. Send us a comment or question in the ICCU YouTube chat, or leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/BNN. Now let's go to the Sun Cruiser Studios and join Tom Moser for another night in the Mountain West on Bronco Nation News.
What's up, everybody? You are here on another night in the Mountain West, Sunday, March 22nd, I believe. Season finale. So, unfortunately, just like that, the season is over. Yes, I know we have 2 teams still playing in the NIT, and I hope they play for a few more games. I have to look at the schedule to see when those games are. New Mexico, Nevada, I'll talk about them in a little bit later on. But for all intents and purposes, the season is over. No offense to those teams in that tournament anymore, but the goal and what you play for, all over. And wasn't without a valiant effort today as Utah State falls to Arizona, certainly worthy of the respect that they likely garnered from neutral fans around the country who are used to just dunking on the Mountain West and things like that. But look, Arizona is one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the country, have been all season, along with Duke and Michigan, like without a doubt, right? I think they were one of the last 2 or 3 teams to lose a game. Ran through the Big 12, which was one of the 2 or 3 best conferences in the country, just beasts up and down the lineup. And what you need to pull off an upset like this is you either need you either need to play perfect yourself, or you need your opponent to play poorly. Okay, and that did not happen, unfortunately, because the Wildcats played well. Now, they didn't play perfect, but a lot of that was due to Utah State, as we'll talk about in a little bit. So, this will be our last episode of the season. we'll talk about some of the stuff at the back end, but want to welcome all of you in. Hopefully, you've been here for most of the ride all season long, and I appreciate you guys coming back here as we're winding this thing down. We'll give a shout out to Sun Cruiser again. You heard their ads in the beginning. They've been our sponsor all season long, along with Circa. But people, Josh, I got a message, I think it was yesterday, watching games with the Sun Cruiser in there. A buddy of mine, Danny, always messaging me about his Sun Cruiser. So hope all of you guys are supporting the sponsor, Sun Cruiser. They've been great. Won't really need to push getting subscriptions anymore. But look, good. First of all, again, Utah State, awesome effort. Okay, they go into the game not by most people expecting to put up much of a fight for a full 40 minutes. It did start to get away from them a little bit early on in the second half, but great fight by the Aggies. And I mean, the defensive effort that they put out there tonight was fantastic. Their effort was top notch, incredible. They're just going up against a superior team, and there's no shame in that, right? So where they really lost this second round game was a couple reasons, and talked about them a little bit earlier. They lost them when they dropped those two games to UNLV and fell out of the 8-9 or fell into the 8-9 game, okay, when they got off of the 7 line, because you play on the 7 line, you play against a 2 seed. I just watched the UConn-UCLA game, right? And UConn's very good, okay, but they're not as good as Arizona. And the way that Utah State played today, they could have beaten UConn tonight, okay? Because UCLA was horrible. Most in the second half, they were atrocious, right? And had Utah State been in that slot, that's a game that goes right down to the wire, right? Maybe not Purdue, okay? And I can't really think of who the other two. Iowa State may have been a bite too big as well, but we'll never know. But they lost that game in two places. One, not getting out of the 8-9 game, right? And two, they lost it in their non-conference scheduling to have them seated where they are, same as 2 years ago. Yes, the Mountain West is continuously underseeded, but it doesn't happen with San Diego State, right? Like last year, they may or may not have belonged in a tournament. They got in the first 4, okay? Possibly based on past results. The 2 years prior, they're in the 4-5, in the 5-12. I think they were 4 and a 5, but whatever it was, they got in a position where they were the beneficiary of upsets in their second round game to play a 12 and a 13 back to back, right? And so you get that by scheduling tougher in the non-con, okay? And I've talked about this before. I get it. Nobody's going to come to Logan. Okay, it's going to be very difficult for you to get teams to come to Logan, but you got to do something different then in the non-con, in the MTE, be willing to go play somebody who you might lose to, and you got to take a shot, and that's got to be somebody better than a Memphis, right? It has to be somebody better than Memphis. We didn't know Memphis was not going to be very good this year, but I mean, I don't. You still need somebody better. Look at what San Diego State did even this year. Arizona, in addition to their MTE, where they were, you don't really know who you're going to get when you sign up for the Players Era, and they happen to get one stud and 2 duds. Could have been the other way around. They ended up playing 2 number 1 seeds. Okay, but at least you're going to get at least one good game in there. It was disappointing that San Diego State didn't get another one, but fact is it was far better than what the Aggies did. So they didn't lose the game. They lost the game on the court today because they were going up against an absolute monster who played well. They didn't play perfect, but they played well, and they're just too big, too strong, and too athletic at every spot. It just is what it is. So it comes before today's matchup. Getting off of that 8-9 line, scheduling tougher in the non-con. We know, look at the teams that are left in the Sweet 16 as Alabama's up 20 with 11 minutes to go. One true like Cinderella. They're not even really a Cinderella, but one team that stands out above the rest as far as like not being a completely NIL driven monster, and that's Iowa. Okay. And Iowa has an incredible basketball coach. And it took like a series of mishaps of zero clue what Florida was doing down the stretch there to lose that game. Otherwise, we'd have like the chalkiest of chalk here and just like completely NIL and power rosters, the salary cap, what people complain about in other sports when the big money teams just spend and spend and spend, I guess baseball, and the smaller market teams don't have a chance. Well, that's kind of what you see here, right? Like Utah State will not be able to compete with the war chest of a Duke or a Michigan or a fill in the blank for most of the teams left in this tournament, okay? There's very few programs that do roster building anymore the way that it used to take place. It's hard to do. Michigan State to an extent does it, right? I guess. But otherwise you can't do it. You got to go get players. And Utah State doesn't have the resources that the power schools do. We all know this. Okay. And so it's difficult. It's difficult. You have to play a perfect game. They were close to tonight. They just didn't make enough shots in the first half. Now, a lot of that is due to the fact that their shots are being altered by guys with massive wingspans and just huge grown men. We saw that when the Aztecs played them, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago now. I guess it was probably 3 months ago. Crazy how fast the time goes. But when they played in that early mid to late December game in Phoenix, you saw how imposing they were defensively. I didn't watch them much since then, maybe a little bit of a couple games in the Big 12, but like they're just dudes. They're dudes. And it's difficult to simulate that in practice. You don't play against that in the regular season in our conference. As good as we have good athletes in our conference, but these guys are at another level. And so like Krivas today, he was like a combination of like Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain, blocking shots, getting offensive rebounds. I mean, you're outsized. The Aggies, their defense again was incredible. For all the Calhoun doesn't take a lot of heat, but for all the sometimes criticism about their defense, like that, the last 2 weeks from the Mountain West Conference tournament on through these two games here was phenomenal. Because I didn't do a show Friday, but their first round effort likewise was the same thing. It was incredible. The only reason why that game was as close as it was for the first whatever minutes, we all know, is because Utah State shot 2 of 80 for 3, and Villanova shot like 20 for 30. So, I mean, I saw a stat. Some of you guys may have seen it on Twitter today or yesterday that made the rounds. Villanova was only the second team in like the last 40 years, 35 years or whatever it was, to lose a game in the tournament while making X number of threes and holding your opponent to X number of threes. Like the 3-point differential in that game was 14-2. So that's 42 points to 6. Utah State got outscored by 36 points from the 3-point line in that game and won the game by 10. Like that tells you how well they played. That does not happen. It doesn't happen. Okay. And it happened on Friday because they played incredible and they played great defense in the conference tournament and they played incredible defense tonight. But it's not easy to rebound when you're going up against, 5 Goliaths, right? And you might have 2.5 Goliaths. So it's not easy. Like all of the shots are contested. You're rushing them a little bit. So even when you're open, you're kind of like, you're looking out of the corner of your eye and you're worried about somebody coming out of nowhere to block the shot or to kind of get in your grill. And it's just, you're rushed. And they felt that in the first half. I think they settled down a little bit. Maybe Arizona for a minute took their foot off the gas until they realized that Utah State wasn't going away. Okay. But look, they should be proud of their effort. Certainly miles different from 2 years ago when they looked like they didn't belong on the same floor with Purdue on that Sunday afternoon. And again, I mean, look, normally like I don't care if you lose by 1 or by 30, you lose. It's not a big deal. That certainly was not a great look. But again, it's a team that went to play in a national championship game, and they were in the national championship game against UConn for a large part of the way. And there's no shame in losing to Purdue. you would have liked to have shown a little bit better 2 years ago. But tonight, like, great effort. Okay, nothing to hang your heads about at all. You win a tournament game for the second time in 3 years at being underseeded again. Okay, you win 2 championships this year. It was a heck of a fun team to watch. I mean, a lot of potential, a lot of guys that just, there were some ups and downs with some players, right? Perryman, Elamine, even Drake Allen, who looked really good here in the tournament. But Drake Allen, Gary Clark, who was a dude today, took somebody asked me, where was he all season? I mean, he went on a hibernation, I guess, like a little a sabbatical in the middle of the season, but he was massive today. Of course, Collins and Falslove were your studs all season long. And I mean, just Templin too. So really fun group to watch. There were Aggie fans right from the start of the season that knew this. We shouldn't doubt them anymore, right? Like, they've earned the right, and I'll talk about the coaching situation in a minute. They've earned the right. They've earned the benefit of the doubt, right? It doesn't matter like who's coaching them. Like you could pull like a 90-year-old Jim Calhoun. He's probably not 90, but somebody who's way past his prime or doesn't have a clue to sit in the bench there, and they'll be okay. All right. Now they've made proper hires the last handful of years, and that's clearly helped, right? But it's just it's a program thing now. Okay. So they've earned the benefit of the doubt, and they were a fun group to watch this year. And again, you win 2 championships. You'll take that like every year. I know you want a Sweet 16. I know you want to go further, and but the fact is there were plenty of times this year too, in February and at other points, where it was like, man, this team, they can't win a game in the tournament. Like, they're just like, they were near the bottom of the country in the nation in terms of like consistency metric. So it just not in a game, but like from game to game, like you never knew what you were going to get. And so you get up efforts like tonight where they could have almost beaten anybody. Maybe a handful of teams were going to beat them. 5-6 teams were going to beat them. Okay. But then other nights, like the UNLV nights, or maybe the Nevada game, or maybe whatever, where Grand Canyon, where it cost them a seed line then. Well, we needed 2 seed lines here to avoid this. But point being, like, they just weren't super consistent. And it is what it is, right? That's just life. And they get two rings, 2 trophies, 2 banners out of it. And now the big task comes here in the next 48 hours. So, saw some comments about Calhoun's like body language, kind of throwing a towel in a little bit. I didn't really think of that so much. When you lay it all out there, like, they weren't going to come back and win the game, right? Like, they were down 10 or 12. Some coaches fight more. Some coaches don't really instruct their guys at that point what to do, and they just kind of let it up to the players, and then they'll foul needlessly. When you've expended that much energy for 39 and a half minutes, both as a coach and as a player, sometimes you're just like over it when it hits you that you're not going to win. I will say that he's probably got a lot going on in his mind. Okay. Now you cannot make any comparisons to Alford at New Mexico when he left for UCLA. Some other coaches, Ed Cooley did it when he was at Providence a few years ago before he left for Georgetown. There have been other instances as well where coach was like 1 foot out the door and it looked like he hadn't game planned at all. He coached his ass off on Friday and tonight. I got messages and there was stuff all over on Twitter about how incredible he was with some of his sets and some of his stuff on Friday. And I'm sure I'll read some of the similar stuff tonight or tomorrow about this game. So one thing you cannot say, regardless of what happens tomorrow, is that he wasn't all in here. All right. There should not be any of that discussion, even if he is not your coach in 48 hours or whatever the deal is. He freaking left it all out there. You should not be there should be nothing other than gratitude for what he did, how he coached those guys up, how they played for him. They played their ass off. He coached his ass off. Same with the staff, everybody up and down the line. Okay. It didn't work out, but that's not for lack of effort. Okay. Now, as far as what's going to happen here in the next 48 hours, just like 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure it was like a Monday afternoon when the news broke officially about Sprinkle taking the Washington job. All right. And I'm pretty sure, since this is basically the exact same segment, maybe it was like an hour earlier when Colorado State got knocked off at the buzzer last year to Maryland. It was definitely later Sunday. It probably was like maybe an hour earlier start or two, because I don't think it was over at 10 or 10:30. I think it was over at like 9-ish. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that was like a Monday deal too when he was announced at Minnesota. And so here's what I will say, because I haven't exactly, I was away yesterday. I haven't been like all over the news on Twitter about the Calhoun deal. And part of that is the fact that it's been kind of quiet, right? Now, to me, and maybe some of you guys in here, I will get to the comments in a minute. So, keep the comments coming. I will check on those in a minute. And maybe you guys have some insight on it, onto what you've heard lately. But the fact, for me, the fact that you're not hearing anything, that's not good, okay? Because the same thing happened on both of those examples that I just gave, all right? It comes out initially, and then it dies down. Like it's like a hurricane, right? Like, it's bad on the outskirts, and then right when you're in the middle of it, the eye is calm, and then on its way out, well, I guess it has died down already, but you get one last, but like it's already probably done, okay? And so it's died down over the last few days or whatever it is, week. And I will say that I see from, some of those know-it-alls on Twitter, right, that are talking about Syracuse and Providence and North Carolina and other jobs that are open or about to be open, or Arizona State or whatever it is, right? And there's been nothing at all about Cincinnati, okay? Nothing at all about Cincinnati, okay? And so what that leads me to believe is that we're looking at the very similar like situation to the last 2 years. Like this was a done deal. Now look, could something fall apart at the 11th hour? I guess there's a few things that could happen, right? You could have had Cincinnati get in some type of trouble, right, from an administrative or an athletic department place where they get in trouble for academic fraud or whatever, who knows, right, where they get put on probation. Or Calhoun wins tonight and they keep playing and he takes them to a Final Four, and then who knows, right? Who knows? But like, it's probably not going to happen, either of those things. Clearly, the latter didn't happen. The former's probably not going to happen. And the fact is, this was probably like an underhanded, under-the-table handshake done like 2 weeks ago, okay, is the way it is. And you can't begrudge the guy for it. It's his alma mater. I do think that, and I've said this before, he probably could have, well, I know he could have pushed harder and probably could have gotten the West Virginia job a year ago. And that's a like job in the same conference. Okay. Same thing with Kansas State. He probably could have pushed harder and gotten that job. No offense to Ross Hodge at West Virginia right now. And no offense to the Alexander guy. I think his name's Casey. I don't know, from Belmont that got the Kansas State job. No offense to those guys, but most people would hire Calhoun before each of them, right? So Calhoun didn't, to me, he didn't really want those jobs in a roundabout way. However, it finalized, him pulling out, them going a different whatever. He didn't want those jobs enough, or he would have gotten them. Okay. This is different because it's his alma mater. He's coached there. He's tight with Huggins. That's where he cut his teeth. And it's hard to say no to that. I do believe he really enjoys it here. Okay. And it's just rotten timing. It's rotten timing. It's rotten timing that Wes Miller sucked as a coach. It's rotten timing that, he lost a couple games down the stretch, and then they decided to get rid of him. It's just bad timing, okay? Because I do think that Calhoun likes it here, and he probably would have stayed had it not been for Cincinnati. Now, the fact is also, had he stayed this year, this is similar to Olin, right? Had he stayed for next year, he still may, but I think it's like 85-15, 90-10 that he's gone. If he stays for next year and he wins, well, it will be tough to win the pack with Gonzaga in there, but who knows? I'm not going to count them out, right? If he wins the conference or is neck and neck with Gonzaga or whatever it is, wins a tournament game again, like the dude can coach, okay? If he comes back, if he would come back, if he comes back, he's likely to retain, and maybe somebody in here, Vic or somebody else, an Aggie fan, who's out of eligibility. Who has no eligibility left? Because I don't follow that crap anymore because it drives me nuts with how many years you get and how many whatever it is. I know Falsov has another year. I know many of the guys do. Who is out of eligibility? I will get to the comment in a second here. Who is out of eligibility and not able to return for this team? Is it Collins? Is it Clark? Guys, like, who's out of eligibility? Somebody got to tell me here, because I should have looked it up, but I don't like doing that because you can never get straight answers anyway. But if he would come back, they could likely retain a fair amount of the roster here and attract a good player or two to fill in a piece or two that's missing. To an extent, again, they can't fill a roster like Kentucky can, but they can sure as heck fill it up better than most of the other schools in the pack. Okay, next year, but if, as I expect, he's announced to be the next coach at Cincinnati in the next 48 hours, then that's where it gets really interesting, okay? Because what happens with Falslev? What happens with some of the other guys? What's the deal, okay? Same thing with as I just said with Calhoun. I do believe that Falslev wants to stay. But does he want to play for a third coach in 4 years? I mean, he would anyway if he goes somewhere else, right? I mean, he's going to play for a different coach unless he would follow Calhoun to Cincinnati. I don't know. But does he want to stay? I don't know. I don't know. You're going to hear people say it both ways. Like, he's an Aggie. He's from here. He wants to be here, blah, blah, blah. I get all that, okay? He probably does not profile out as an NBA player. So here's his opportunity to earn like a legit bag of money more. I'm sure he'd get a nice bag here in Logan, but a bag and a half that he couldn't get in Logan somewhere else in the Big 12, in the Big 10. Okay. And so that's what's going to be really telling what happens with those guys. All right. Maybe part of it depends on who the coach is. I don't know. And I did hear a couple names. You hear some names thrown around, and it's just been kind of speculative so far. Obviously, we'll see what happens tomorrow or Tuesday, and then you can kind of dig in a little bit more. But we'll see, because that's the important stuff. I mean, again, you like to have Calhoun back, but you would have liked to have like Odom stay and Sprinkle, right? Now we know like Sprinkle hasn't had a great 2 years up in Seattle. Okay. Hasn't gone well for him at Washington. He's in a brutal conference. It's out of place. It's not only a basketball school, and the guy's a good coach, but he's in a conference loaded with good coaches. Okay. Odom did a really nice job this year, got a 3 seed in the tournament, won a game, took Duke to the wire in the ACC final, finished runner-up in that conference, lost to, down the stretch today. They really were not better talent-wise, despite the seeding, than Tennessee. The end of that was going on as the start of the Utah State game, and I had both screens there next to me so I could kind of watch both, and I was ready to tweet out how they pulled that game out, that like coaching won that game, because he ran circles around Barnes, like Rick Barnes. There's a reason that guy chokes every year. Odom, great job, and we'll see what Calhoun does if he leaves. But the fact is, what's to say that they don't get somebody else that can succeed here? Nobody in Logan or Mountain West circles knew who Jared Calhoun was 2 years ago. He was at Youngstown State. He had zero ties to the area. So a great job by the administration of Utah State, which has turned over since then. But they found him, right, out of wherever. Same thing with Odom, right? So, Sprinkle was a little more regional there, up north in Montana at Montana State, but the other two guys were not. And so who knows where they go, what they do. I'm getting ahead of myself because it's not done yet, but I'm assuming it might be done. We'll see. All right, let me get to some comments here. Yeah, Vic, when Memphis was scheduled, they were supposed to be good. I know. So it's unfortunate. I get it. Yeah, but they need to schedule better. Yeah. They're getting resources. So you're expecting better recruiting. That's good. So Vic here with some inside info. So yeah, assistant coach Hout took the Tarleton job because he was told Calhoun is not leaving. He wanted a Utah State job. I mean, that sounds nice in theory, Vic, but okay. So Vic, Falslev and Templin are back. Collins, King, Keller, Allen. Yeah, Allen. I knew Allen was gone. And I thought Allen and Clark were gone. I figured Collins was gone. I did not know about King. I was hoping King was back. Keller, you can have Keller. I mean, he played a decent role this year, but he's replaceable. Allen, Clark's replaceable, even though he looked great tonight. I mean, a lot of these guys are replaceable. MJ's clearly not, right? Yeah, El Amin and Perryman are back, and then the young guys are back too. Falslev and Templin will be upcoming seniors. Yes. Yeah. So Falslev was given a house and $1 million to stay last year. Well, they might have to double that, Vic. I don't know. I appreciate all your information. Yeah, Spencer. That was, look, you tip your cap to the guy, Burries, I guess. I always thought it was Burris, but I guess it's Burries. Steve Ivey told me he played on the same high school team as Isaac Williamson and a couple other guys from the conference. I think it was Walker, the freshman for Nevada, and one of the guys at CSU, Slater, who doesn't get a lot of run, but they were all on the same high school team in California. Not a bad team, but look, that's why guys like that go to Arizona. Like, that's a ridiculous shot, but it was pure, right? And there's a reason that guy averaged double figures and was a stud freshman. So tough. Those, you just have to tip your cap to the opponent in that moment. Yeah, Brandon. It's funny. I will say, like, listen, it is theater watching like Cronin, and I know an official he's retired now, but used to do games when Cronin was at Cincinnati, and he would tell me the stories about how Cronin would MF his guys like nonstop. You can just see it, man. I guess like that he gets the message across to them that he does, that it's just like part of his shtick, and he does care about him, because they do largely. Now they kind of went in the tank the last 4 minutes tonight, but that was a credit to UConn. But man, he rides those guys probably harder than any other coach in the country. Like, honestly, he does. Like, he is all over those guys. And as for that tee, Brandon, like, it was odd because he was just clapping. There really was no foul. They showed the replay. He was just clapping. And that's one of those where, like, look, he knows damn well what he's doing. Like, he can say all he wants. I didn't say a word. He knows what he was doing. He's trying to clap to show up the official, like, good job. You made a great call. And I'm sure he was barking at the guy the entire game. So, it's like I know what he's doing. Everybody knows what he's doing, but good job, Aggies. Yeah. Yeah. Look, Sky, the thing is, like, Templin firing up all those threes. 7 threes wasn't part of Calhoun's game plan. Look, I agree with you. You didn't need that many from him, certainly early on. Like, look, Arizona plays this effective, like people would call it, like the Crevis drop, like the Mo drop. Like, he doesn't have to guard Gary Clark out on the perimeter. He doesn't need to guard Carson Templin out on the perimeter. He doesn't really need to guard Keller out on the perimeter either. And so he can hang out in the lane and be a shot blocker and deter. And then what you can do then is you can hang tight, you can tag the other guys, and you can make it difficult for Collins, difficult for Falslev, difficult for King or whoever to get open looks, because you don't need to guard one or two of the other guys out there. And then you find yourself open. And even though, like, it's not a great shot, it's hard to resist that at times, man. It just is. And then when you make one, well, of course you're going to take another one or two. So, yeah, it wasn't part of the game plan, but you just have to credit Arizona for that. Yeah, Ewok, I know. Well, here's the thing with this. I have my own rule. About the NIT, and that's why I watch Wednesdays. Although, first thing, I don't know how it happened, because earlier in the year in the non-con, I was watching games on ESPN Plus the whole time. Now I tried to go in there, and it's not even my account. It's one of my buddies, so maybe he got restructured or something. But I tried to go in there and watch one of the games the other night on ESPN Plus, and it wouldn't let me. So I couldn't even watch it. But I have a rule where I won't watch NIT games when the tournament is on. Like, that's just my own rule. So you guys can laugh at me. It's kind of stupid. I make dumb rules that I enforce myself. Now, because I did watch CSU and Wyoming on Tuesday and Wednesday, to me, even though I'll watch them, like, the first 4 games don't count as a tournament, right? To me, they don't. Like, the tournament starts on Thursday. And so those first 4 games are like NIT games to me. Like, I'll watch them. I'll root for our teams when they're in them, but they're like NIT games. They're not part of the tournament. The tournament starts on Thursday. So when a tournament starts, I'm not going to watch the NIT games. Now, I was following them, right? Nevada, good job last night with the comeback. New Mexico rolled tonight. So 2 teams in the final 8. UNLV did not get there today. Not surprised. Although, looking at the box score, nobody knows in here, I'm sure, but Fleming and Benarby didn't play. So Passner had to go back into the well with the guys that he bagged for the last 2 months, like Stefan and Al Green. And he really didn't play a whole lot of guys. They got killed on the glass. Tulsa was a bad matchup for them. So I'm not surprised they got beat. New Mexico figured they would roll tonight, so good job by them. I know that Nevada has Auburn next at Auburn, so that'll be a tough ask for Alford and crew, especially since if Auburn was going to kind of not care, they would have probably lost one of their first 2 games. They obviously care enough to win those first 2 games, and now they're in the final 8. I guess they'll want to keep playing, right? So it's going to be at Auburn, so a tough ask for Nevada. I do not know who New Mexico plays. Is it is it Cal? I don't know who New Mexico plays. Maybe if any Lobo fans in here can tell me who they will play. And I don't even know when it is. I have to check the schedule. I'm assuming these games are going to be like Tuesday or Wednesday, right? But who knows? Maybe not. I don't know. Oh, there you go. Pac fan. New Mexico Tuesday, 6 Pacific, so 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain on Tuesday. And now I will assume that with no other stuff going on, that those games, I mean, there's only 4 games left with 8 teams, and they're probably going to run them on 2 separate nights. Those games should all be on either ESPN or ESPN2 or ESPNU. So I would think like all 4 of those games will be on. So I'll definitely watch them. There's no doubt I'll watch it. I'm glad they're having success, both of those teams. I hope they both win. I'm not going to do shows for them afterwards, but I'm glad they're playing well, and get some extra games in. So happy for them. Nathan, appreciate you being here. I guess I missed this a half hour ago. So when you watch this tomorrow morning, appreciate you covering all the teams this year. Have a great year. Hopefully we hear from you again next year. Appreciate you being here all for the ride, Nathan. I know you came, you missed this stuff at the beginning and said you found it and you were watching. So glad you found it. And hopefully you'll hear from me somewhere next year. James, probably, show that they deserved 2, 3, or 4. I mean, they did, right? I go back and forth with that because Utah State for sure showed that the conference was better than a 1-bid league. But the other side of the coin is, well, we don't just give bids to leagues, right? Like even one of the years that UConn won the national championship, it was either 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the Big East only got like 3 teams, and 2 of them were like stud teams. So it's tough to say because, again, San Diego State and New Mexico ultimately just didn't do enough to get in. So, I mean, they have to go through a very good Utah State team, and they couldn't do it, and that's why they didn't win enough games. But So I get it. It's tough, and the conference was better than the one bid. There's no way around it. It's just the way that it is anymore for non-power schools. It just is what it is. The Goons in here, the Goon Commander, hell of a season from the Aggies. You were in oh, that's right. I knew you said you were there the other day. I figured you were there today too. Arizona fans were having breakdowns in Viejas. Yeah, somebody else said that today too, an Aggie fan, that they made Arizona like uncomfortable, and they did. They were sweating. There's no doubt. When that was 51-33, I'm sure most people were starting to tune out, go to the other game, figure, just another Mountain West, blah, blah, blah. Arizona's going to put this in cruise control. And the opposite of that happened. Utah State said, let's make one more run at this. And they freaking had that thing to 4, man. They had that thing to 4. There were a couple shots that they didn't get to fall in the last couple minutes that would have made them sweat a little bit more, would have at least put some real serious pressure on them to make free throws. And that's all you can ask, right? I know that the final score ends up being a 12-point margin, but they represented damn well. They gave a good account of themselves, of the conference, coaching staff, the players, and I'm sure Tommy Lloyd and the Wildcat players in the locker room knew that they were up against it today. That was no joke. There's no doubt about it. That's funny, Spencer, a non-alcoholic sponsor, so most of you guys can support. That's something that we'll have to work on, I guess, for next year. Pac fan, okay, so Nevada 6 on Wednesday, 6 Pacific. Okay, so we have New Mexico Tuesday, Nevada Wednesday. Good stuff then. So they're both on non-NCAA tournament days, which I figured 2 Tuesday, 2 Wednesday. Mid-major teams need to embrace and build the NIT. Power conferences have a stranglehold on the NCAA. Yeah, and look, that's frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating, right? Because that's not how it used to be. When I used to watch this thing growing up as a youngster, I mean, part of the fun was Thursday and Friday, watching half of these games go down to the wire and having 5 upsets from 11, 12, 13, and 14 seeds that you maybe picked one of them, but that were crazy. And it just doesn't happen anymore. This is 2 years in a row now that we haven't really had much of it at all. And I don't see that changing, right? It's just the gap is becoming wider, and we all know it, right? It's unfortunate as fans of non-Power 4 schools, okay? And I guess, the only thing that keeps the Big East from falling down where the Mountain West was this year and the Pac will be next year and all that stuff is UConn. Like, that's it. That's it. Like, yes, Pitino's at St. John's. They're a very good program. He's one of the best coaches of all time. But he's not going to be there forever. And the rest of that conference was horrible this year. They haven't been very good for much of the last, X years, to be quite honest. Okay. And so Utah State just dismantled one of them 48 hours ago. And so it's just the differences are only growing. They're only growing. And now as these programs get more and more revenue from media deals and NIL backers and whatever else is going on, it's just going to continue to grow. At some point, though, it's going to pop because, like I said years ago or a year or two ago, and you finally see people saying it now. Let's just take BYU for an example. Some of you Utah State fans may enjoy this as a dig against BYU, but you paid DeBansa, what would they give the guy? $5 million, $6 million, whatever it was, right? They get a 6 seed, lose in the first round, don't win the conference, and what do you get for your return there? A few games on ESPN? I mean, is that worth it for somebody? I mean, I guess if you're a billionaire, maybe it is. If you have nothing better to do with your money and you can use it as a tax write-off and stuff, I don't know. But man, some of these people are going to learn real fast. I got better things to do with my money. Okay. At some point that bubble is going to pop, right? Anyway. Well, yes, Sky. So NIL has little to do with big wins. Kansas, but Kansas loses to St. John's. North Carolina, yes, obviously, massive NIL disparity there between North Carolina and VCU. That's to be sure. Same thing with Florida and Iowa. BYU, but BYU lost to Texas. Texas is the largest athletic department in the country. So, I know BYU is a huge NIL, and Utah State's $3 million. Yeah, if that. I don't even know if it was that high. Do you think any teams out west would schedule Utah State, or do you think they'll have to go east to find a non-con opponent? I mean, well, listen, here's the thing. I don't know. Like, look, if San Diego State has Arizona on speed dial, it's going to be difficult to get Arizona to agree then also to play Utah State, right? But if that was a one-off this year with San Diego State and Arizona, then Utah State should pick up the phone right away and say, look, we'll come down to the McHale Center, if they still call it that, in Tucson next year, and let's play a neutral game in 2 years. You're probably not going to get them to come to your place, but let's do we'll play at your place, and then we'll do a neutral, right? There's enough other decent teams out there, whether Oregon was bad this year, but as long as Dana Altman's been there, they're a good program. Go schedule Oregon, right? Go schedule like UCLA and Mick Cronin, okay? You go to the Midwest somewhere. You go schedule Texas Tech. Wyoming scheduled Texas Tech. I mean, some of these schools might not play you, but you have to make some calls and try. You have to try. Okay, now if there's a new coach, we'll see what his philosophy is. Everybody has different philosophies, okay? Hefty, all the Aggies main dudes played well today. Allen, MJ, Falslev, El Amin. Bench guys were great. King was good. Yeah, Perryman, who I've been hard on Perryman lately. Clark was obviously a beast. I've been hard on Perryman lately. I was worried when they were playing really hard the first 5 minutes, and then he started to sub guys. And I was like, let's see how this goes. This might need to be like if you watched the Siena Duke game on Thursday when McNamara went iron 5. I don't even know if he did it for the full 40 minutes or if he subbed somebody out in the last minute when somebody fouled out or whatever it was. But he tried to go iron 5 because he had no bench. And there's such a huge difference between his starters and his bench. And so that was his way of staying in the game. And I was thinking that maybe Calhoun would have to do that. Maybe not to that extent, but like really shorten the bench minutes today. But Perryman was good, and the rest of the guys were good there too. Tough matchup for Templin today, right? I mean, he can get away with what he likes to do in the Mountain West. Not so much against Arizona when those guys are like bigger, faster, and stronger, right? Pat, you needed Nova. Tough break against the Aggies. Yeah, no, not good there for you, my friend. Where's BJ? BJ is enjoying some downtime. I'm sure he's got some Boise shows to do here coming up. Aggie he should schedule New Mexico. Maybe they can get the Lobos on a schedule, and that could probably be a true home and home, right? Do a true home and home. I mean, they're going to be a 10-point underdog, Mike, against Auburn, right? Like, Pearl got a lot of crap this year, largely because he was handed a job by his dad who bagged it right before the season. So no, that's kind of icky. Nobody likes to see that type of stuff. He hadn't really proved himself. There's a lot of guys that probably could have taken that job that had earned it more so. So that kind of puts you on the wrong foot to start with because people look at you as a nepotism hire, right? And so he got a lot of crap. And then obviously being on the bubble with their record, what it was, 17-16, that's not going to get you any sympathy either from people. But I will give them credit for two things. One, for accepting the bid to play in the NIT when all the other schools were too good to do it. So credit to them for showing up to play in the NIT, and then credit to them for showing up literally and then figuratively showing up and playing hard in both of their first two games. Okay, because not everybody did that. That's a common thing going back years in the NIT. When you're disappointed, you don't show up. Even if before teams were bagging it, they just mentally wouldn't show up. It happened the other day to UC Irvine. Maybe CSU a little bit against St. Joe's, but Irvine against UNLV the other night, they didn't show up. They lost their conference title game last Saturday in the final seconds, didn't make the tournament. Now they go play in the NIT. There were about 1,000 people there against UNLV on Wednesday night or whenever it was. They didn't show up to play in that game. I mean, they still almost came back and won because UNLV did their normal collapse in the second half, but Irvine didn't show up to play. So credit Auburn for showing up to play. They'll be probably close to a 10-point favorite in that game. I didn't watch either of Nevada's games. I just looked through the box score. They'll have a chance to win because Auburn doesn't play very good defense. They're not a great defensive team. And Nevada, if their guys are ready to go, moving and, off screens, Camper and all that, and Price wants to bang inside, they'll be able to score some points if they're making some shots. But they're going to be out athleticized, and we'll see how that goes. So I don't know that you get much of a home court advantage for Auburn. So it's just how will Nevada travel? So we'll see. We'll see. Collins and Falsell have fantastic seasons, 100%. Yeah, they were fun to watch. Zone went on to run off Templin's poor play, started the second half. Ill-advised 3, doesn't find the ball in transition, leading to a layup. Bad shot next time. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with any of that stuff, Hefty. I mean, look, when you're the underdog against a very good team that's playing good basketball, you don't have much margin for error. I hate to lay it all at Templin's feet. Those might not have been super plays by him. But look, he's being sped up to the way that all of them are, and stuff goes faster in your mind there. You're not playing perfect. Yeah, they were too tight early on. Yeah. Chances that Calhoun stays, I think. Oh, let me say this. It's probably 10%. And here I mentioned one of the things about the on Twitter, the talk about the other schools and no talk about Cincinnati. So there's and I like to look at this stuff for entertainment purposes and for information purposes. There are websites that your gambling websites that have, believe it or not, have odds on schools and their next coaches. Okay. Now, not every school, but big name schools. So as an example, like a week ago, who's the next Syracuse coach? And then they would list like 10 guys who they might think get the job, right? Same thing with Providence, whatever. So I think it was before the tournament started. Before the tournament started on Thursday, there were like 6 schools that were listed, maybe even 7 that were listed that had next coach, right? Kansas State wasn't on there because they're already filled, and several others weren't on there because they were filled. Okay. So you have like Arizona State, you have Kansas State, you have Syracuse and Providence, like I mentioned. I think Georgia Tech was on there, and they've now since filled. There were a couple others on there, and I can't remember who they were, but Cincinnati was not on the list. Okay. And they're open, like they don't have a coach. So, some of you might be like, well, who cares? It's just, but like, again, these companies are in the business of making money. They're not giving money away. Okay. And for them to not have the Cincinnati job listed when every other job of a power school is listed kind of tells me that they already know that it's like a done deal. Okay. So take that for whatever you want to take it for. All right. I just like reading the tea leaves. I just think that it's kind of almost a foregone conclusion. Can Nevada win? Yes, but not good on the road. Auburn's top seed. Yeah, Nevada not super on the road. Happened on a Monday for Patino. Oh yeah, Nicola. Yeah, Patino left. I've said this. I've said this before. Patino was out no matter what. He was going wherever. He would have taken a job at. He would have done what Odom did and gone to a VCU. Honestly, he would have taken VCU if he didn't get the Xavier job. Because remember, like people were talking Nova, and that didn't work out. I think Nova chose Willard instead of Patino, and he kind of backfell then into Xavier. But he had feelers in at VCU. That's not a power job, but he didn't want to be in Albuquerque anymore. I know that's hard to hear, but he just didn't, for whatever reason. His wife, West Coast, not a big city, not this, wants to get closer to the East Coast. All those things probably were in play, but he was gone. And yes, but it did happen on a Monday when all this stuff broke down for Patino last year, 100%. I think if Calhoun said no, they would have. Yes, Derek, that's also a fair point, 100%. Yeah, like Miller didn't do a very good job. He made 0 NCAA tournaments in 5 years for Cincinnati. Okay, 0. That's not good, right? You get hired to make the NCAA tournament at a Power 5 school, Power 4 school. So he didn't do that. But his team played good basketball down a stretch, and there were starting to be some rumblings then that they were going to keep him. So I think Derek's onto something here where they probably reached out, and Aggie fans won't like to hear this, but there I'm sure was communication at various points going weeks back into February. Did that contribute to a loss at some point to Nevada or UNLV or San Diego State? Maybe. But again, like I'm sure there was some type of communication and reach out there between the two parties in February. All right. Are you interested if we get rid of this guy? Right. So we're not offering you the job, but we're just putting feelers out. And then, he'll have his representative say, well, he might be interested, right? Just so you're careful how you word it, right? I used to work for a guy that was masterful at how you word things, okay? So you're protecting yourself, but you put the onus on them. And so then when it gets back to them that, he's interested, wink, wink, he'll probably take it. All right, we're going to move on from Wes Miller. And if he would have said, you know what, I'm happy here, then maybe they keep Wes Miller, because you don't fire the guy if you're going to settle for somebody else. If Calhoun's going to say no, right? Because he I don't know. That's just the way it is. I doubt it, Brian. Like, I'd have to talk to BJ about that. Look, that for that stuff, it's possible. Like, I do a pod. I said I did a pod last week, I guess. I think I did it on Monday. I did a pod after the selection show. And so, Nick, you got the roster. Collins gone, Allen gone, Keller. Yeah, a lot of defections there. Lance says Collins, Clark, and Keller. Spencer, this is when I asked the question. I can't believe I've been in here for an hour. Man. Collins, Drake, King. So a lot, have no eligibility remaining. Yeah. Clark, Collins, Keller, Allen. Okay, so Battle, Cattle, Clark, Collins, Keller, and Allen are the ones out of eligibility. Yeah, okay. So you do not have King out of eligibility because a few other guys have had King out of eligibility. Okay. Even if Calhoun leaves, I don't think he'd be able to take Falsov and Templin with him. They'd be more likely to end up at BYU or another team in the West, maybe back with Sprinkle in Washington. Yeah, I mean, that's who knows, right? Like, I don't know enough about any of that to know whether, different part of the country. Calhoun would come east because that's where his roots are, right? Falsov's roots are here. I know Templin's a Texas guy, Texas kid, prepper, but, who knows? Who knows? Okay, so that was you guys back. For the offseason coverage, I don't really know, Brian. It's like I keep leaving you guys here twisting in the wind. I'm just, BJ and I have to talk about it, maybe wait till things die down, the season ends, whatever, to figure out what the plan is going to be moving forward for next year. I've talked about it a little bit on here. That I have not made any decision for myself, nor has BJ. Anything as far as who's going to be covered, who's not going to be covered, how it's going to work. No idea, right? I'd like to talk about the stuff that develops over the next week or two, player-wise, coach-wise, all of that, okay? And we'll have to see how it goes. Maybe I would do a pod. I don't know. We'll see, all right? I'm not closing anything off because I do think that I'd get a lot of you guys to come in here and watch if there would be some news and stuff, but we'll see. Let's see how it plays out. Lobos play St. Joe's. Wait, Eric, St. Joe's won tonight? They beat Cal? I looked early in the second half. They were getting run off the floor. I thought they would hang in there, but they were getting run off the floor early on. The Goon says the threes for Templin were pissing him off. He also said this 20 minutes ago. I'm just behind. Yeah, Goon, you're correct. Cronin's a psycho, but he's good for the sport. 100%. It's theater. I mean, it's theater. Like, he is entertaining to watch. And by and large, his guys play hard for him. Like, he rode Dent hard, and in the middle of the year, Dent was not having a super year. But, man, down the stretch, he was dynamite. He was dynamite down the stretch. He got them up to a 7 seed. He got them to the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament, right? They did it. They did a lot of this without their big guy. They won the other night. Bilodeau out. Maybe they win tonight if Bilodeau's in. Nevada for next year has Weems, Rollins back, Comer, Camper, Armo Trading, and Coleman are out of eligibility. Yeah, you better hope, Mike, that Weems is back, because you never know, right? You never know. St. Joe's did win, Steve. Holy crap. I guess that's why I should pay attention the last 15 minutes. Tenet played well. Albury didn't play. Oh, geez. Okay. Interesting. Well, he's got a few days to rest now. Hopefully he can get better. Goon's insight on Calhoun staying. You were at the open practice, told Calhoun he needs to stay, and he gave you a thumbs up. Well, that's good job doing yeoman's work for the conference. I mean, look, I think this, and I'm not – I was hard on Patino often in here because I think Patino's your Calipari type of guy where he's a recruiter and he's not much of a game coach. Now, look, he won 2 championships the last 2 years. He won a tournament championship 2 years ago, and he won the regular season last year in a very good league, in a 4-bid league that had 5 very good teams. Okay? He won the league title there. So, I'm probably too hard on him. But I thought he was a guy who, he also had a loaded roster. Let's not kid ourselves here. I think he's a guy who wins when he has talent, and he can accumulate that talent. But I don't know if he's a wizard with the clipboard, right? I think Calhoun can clearly accumulate talent, and he's pretty damn good on with the clipboard too, right? And so, where was I going with this? I was talking about, I lost my train of thought there, talking about Patino and Calhoun. Calhoun, that's what I was going to say. I've been hard on Patino, right? And I'm not I'm saying what I believe, right? It's not a knock on the Lobos. It's not a knock on New Mexico's program. I hate to say it, but it's kind of a knock on Patino. He just wanted to go somewhere different. Okay. And so, I don't think it hurt him to leave Albuquerque. Yeah. His kid loved it. He was a celebrity there. He enjoyed his dialogue with Grammer, kind of the opposite of the current coach and his dialogue with Grammer. Right. But he didn't, I don't think it was a big deal for him behind closed doors to leave. Okay. I do think it will hurt Calhoun to leave. Okay. I think he identifies what a special place it is in Logan with the fan support, with what they can do going into a league with Gonzaga. I think it will hurt Calhoun. I think he's, if it happens, he's doing what his heart is telling him because he's going back home. Okay. But I don't think this is easy for him. I think it's hard for him. And I think that plays in a little bit to some of that body language and some of the, like Braden said, he was down a handshake line with 25 seconds left and just wanted to get out of there. I think that's part of what you're seeing there. Okay. This is hard for him. This is difficult for him. I don't think he obviously wants to do it or he won't do it. Nobody's strong arming him into doing it. But I don't think he would have cried or thrown a fit had Cincinnati not gotten rid of Wes Miller, because he would have been able to stay here and see this thing through for another year. And let's face it, all these coaches are confident, right? I'm sure he's confident too, but you can bet your ass that Sprinkle was confident 2 years ago when he went to Washington. He didn't think he was going to finish 16th in the Big Ten or whatever it was, 2 years in a row, 17th. So Calhoun's going into a freaking league with some dudes. Even if Bill Self retires, that's one of the winningest programs in college basketball history. They'll be fine. I promise you. Iowa State is a machine. Houston is a machine times 2. So if you think that Calhoun's going to go into Cincinnati, and I'm sure they'll have good NIL, but it still is not going to be top 5 in the Big 12. Okay. So it's going to be hard, and a dude can coach, but this is going to be hard. So everybody always thinks right away that, they're going to do great there. Okay. Look at Nico this year. It's not easy. He did a good job, and he still finished, 15th in the conference. It's freaking not easy, man. It's not. So I think this is very hard for Calhoun. I really do. I really think this is going to be difficult for him. Okay? But it is what it is. New Mexico St. Joe's at 7. Can we get a show of him if a Mountain West team makes a final? Yeah, I'll have to think about that. Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate that. Yeah, I when I know, you guys will know. I promise. I'm not dragging you on just to kind of keep you here. I'm trying to figure things out on a lot of fronts, and so we'll see how it goes. I figured you meant Rollison instead of Rollins. Yeah. I thought about that too. It's difficult when you're turning the coaches over because, yeah, I get it. There's no doubt about that. That's a problem. And that's the one area where the coaching turnover definitely is not ideal. It's fine that it's great that you can hire all these studs. Okay. Not every school can do that. Okay. But yes, 100% it hurts with the turnover because, you can say, let's do a home and home, let's do this and that. And then it falls through because guy X is gone and new guy comes in and he doesn't really want to play this game and he has a different philosophy. There's 100% there's something to that. There's no doubt about it. Agree with that. New Mexico and Nevada were 1 and 2 in attendance for the NIT. That's impressive. I knew New Mexico was up there. I didn't know Nevada was. Good for them. I'm glad they got into Lawler for that. Very good. Students were ready to leave for spring break. Yeah, well, they don't have any more home games now. They're at Auburn, and then it'll be the Final Four or nothing. Yeah, Nick, I heard that too last night or 2 nights ago, Bennett to ASU. Now, here's the thing I will say with this. You hope so because yes. So Arizona State, I wanted to say this. Arizona State was Bennett was I was on that website. Bennett was the favorite a few days ago to get that job. Olin was probably like 5th or 6th down the line at like 8 or 9 to 1. So he was in there. He wasn't the favorite, and he really wasn't listed any of those other jobs. They didn't have BC listed, or they did. They did have BC listed. They had a lot of those Northeastern guys up there for BC. Jim Larinaga's kid, that Joe Gallo from Merrimack. So they had guys from BC listed too, and Olin wasn't on there. I mean, you knew there was no chance Olin was taking that BC job. I don't care if he interviewed there or not. But the Bennett thing, I will say this about Bennett. Yes, that seems like a logical fit on several fronts. St. Mary's probably lose a lot. They lose their partner in crime in Gonzaga, okay? The league's going to be massively weak. Now, he could probably dominate the league and get in a tournament, but he's playing the lottery and he's playing Russian roulette where you almost have to win the conference tournament to get in because you lose those games against Gonzaga. It crushes their RPI, their strength of schedule, right? Their net will take hits. Their non-con is always decent, but it's not super. And you lose those 2 or 3 games against Gonzaga, and you're up against it. So it seems like a good time for him to leave. But that was like 48 hours ago that I heard that, and nothing really has come of it since. So I don't know what's happening here. Also, I think tomorrow it seems like Hubert Davis is going to get canned at North Carolina. That's going to set a lot of stuff into motion here, okay? The guys, and as a matter of fact, this is how goofy that website is that I was looking at. They had odds today on the next North Carolina coach. They didn't even fire Hubert Davis yet. I mean, it's going to happen tomorrow, I think, but they didn't even fire Hubert Davis yet, and they have odds on the next North Carolina coach. So, and they have all the heavy hitters on there. Now, obviously, only one can take the job, and who knows who it could be, but all the heavy hitters are on there because it's North Carolina. Right? You got the guy from Michigan, Dusty May. You got the guy from Florida, Todd Golden. Otzelberger from Iowa State. Oates is a hot name there from Alabama. You have your Jay Wrights and Brad Stevens is on there. I don't think that will happen. But if one of those guys takes that job, likely Oates or maybe like an Otzelberger or Golden, maybe Golden's pissed because he lost today, won a national championship at Florida last year. Maybe Golden wants to go there and try a new challenge. Well, guess what? You're opening up another premier job. Anybody that gets this job is going to be coming from a premier job. It's going to completely recycle the whole carousel and open up other positions. So the fact that Bennett to ASU wasn't really called yet, gives me a little bit of pause there. Season is over for UCLA. Do you think the coach is gone? Yeah, well, if Cronin, here's the thing though, Raynard, if Cronin's not going to go anywhere, the only place Cronin would go is back to Cincinnati, and I haven't heard anything on that lately. So I don't know. Like maybe that was my theory and hope to keep Calhoun and Logan was that Cronin a month ago was so bitter that he'd get out of Dodge and go back to Cincinnati. But that seems to have kind of like fallen through the woodwork here. And it looks like he's going to stay. I don't know. He's unhappy there, but let's face it, he's unhappy anywhere. He's not happy ever. So I kind of think he stays. If he goes, Olin's probably their number one target. maybe not number one, but certainly one of the top 3 targets. He would take it in a heartbeat. I'm not sure who else they would go after, but he would be on their short list. Roddy says no chance Falslev would go back to Sprinkle. I have to go to the Pack. The Mountain West is toast. Well, I mean, there's good programs in both conferences and there's bad programs in both conferences. Yeah, JB says they'll start covering both next year. They'll be back together someday. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen with these conferences. Yeah, New Mexico, Nevada, the only ones playing basketball anymore since nobody's in the Crown. Will Richard come back after going 6-4? No, he's not. Richard's not going to come back to the West Coast. I just don't see it. Like, and I never finished my Richard thought, but you saw what happened this year when he didn't have the talent that he had at New Mexico. He went 6-14 in a bad Big East. That team got 3 bids. Their third team got the floor wipe with them by Utah State. 2 very good teams at the top, no doubt about it. But the rest of the conference was poor, and Richard went 6-14. So, I mean, maybe he'll go 10-10 next year. I don't really know. You know, again, I've said it before. I said it on my pod for 3 years. I don't exactly think that Richard is Tom Izzo with a clipboard. And so, you know, they're not going to get rid of him after next year, but maybe after 3 years. And then maybe he has to go the route of going down a level again, like he did after he got fired at Minnesota. He went to New Mexico. Maybe he has to do that again. I don't know. Maybe he goes down to like a South Florida or a Memphis after they fire Penny. Who knows? I don't know. That's for a couple years later, but I don't think he comes back out west. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. Does Alford leave if they win the NIT? I don't think so, Mike. I don't think so. It's possible. Gartrell, thank you for being here. I'm glad you're a good follow. I appreciate you following on Twitter and your interaction. So appreciate you being here. Calhoun chose Utah State or West Virginia last season. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I said that earlier, Roddy. You might not have been in here yet at that point. He definitely could have pushed harder for that and probably would have gotten the job. I do believe that. I had some messages last year with some people in the know right after it happened. I'm pretty sure he could have gotten that job. We'll see. Look, I've kind of like let my thought about it out that I do think he's going to go, but maybe I look foolish tomorrow. Who knows? All right. That's part of the fun of it. Nothing's a guarantee. I've laid out a couple reasons why I think he's gone, but nobody knows. There's upsets all the time. This would be an upset, but upsets happen all the time. So cross your fingers, hope that he's back, and that's it. Thank you, Inches. Appreciate it. I will get some rest. This is one more late night, I guess. It's almost 1. I can't believe I've been in here for an hour and 12 minutes, and you sickos are here with me, so much appreciative for that. Mountain West teams don't have the same altitude advantage in tournament games. March Madness record for the conference is atrocious. Yeah, I mean, obviously, some of the half of the teams, San Diego State's not an altitude team, but yeah, obviously they don't play at altitude. Officiating, the ball, a lot of things go into it. Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's not. I mean, you ever see him? Like, do you ever see the guy smile? If he does, it's like a sarcastic smile right before he's about to rip into somebody. But yeah, look, that would not surprise me at all. They'll certainly kick the tires on Olin if he goes. If Calhoun's gone, why not? Right? I mean, you have to. Patino's will be Big East. No way. Yeah, I don't think he does either. I do think though that if he wants, like, if he wants to slide into his dad's job at St. John's, he better pick up the slack the next 2 years, because unless Rick, and I don't even think it would happen then because he's got such a big ego, unless Rick wins the national championship this year, I don't think he's ready to bag it yet, right? And I don't think you can hire Richard yet, like, for St. John's. Like, it's just he hasn't. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, good stuff there for Nevada. That helps them out. Should help their recruiting out and stuff. But they need some like postseason appearances though, Mike. They need to get a win in the NCAA tournament. It's been since Musselman, right? Yeah, I wish they would do that too. Promotion, relegation. I wish. No chance. Why do you say that, Nicholas? I'm going to wrap it up here in a couple minutes because I gotta get a snack and get to bed. But I don't think there's no chance at that. May not seem like his type of place, but neither does Albuquerque. I don't know. Maybe not. Mount West teams usually don't get seeded with teams they match up well against. Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't help to go up against the 1 seed, right? One of the monsters. It's easy to say in hindsight now, but Florida was the weakest of the 4s, right? compared to the other three. They were all season. They went down today and took a strange series of events at the end. I don't know why Florida, when you're up 2, I don't know if you guys were watching that because many of you in here were probably just focused on the Utah State game, but when you're up 2 and there's 9 seconds left, here's your coaching clipboard TED talk for tonight. When you're up 2 and the other team's inbounding the ball with 9 seconds left, when you go back and watch that highlight that they've shown 800 times, why on earth are you know that they're going to, even if you don't know, you let Sturtz come in front of you and round off to catch it on the go, and you trail him. So already you're playing from behind, and then you leave the guy wide open in the corner for 3. Like, why are you leaving them open for 3 when all a 2 does is send you to overtime? Like, just like coaching malpractice there. And I think Golden's a very good coach. I think he's, I don't think he's the highest in terms of like on the morals and ethics scale, but I think he's a very good coach. But that was bizarre. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I know the guy made a great shot, and the Iowa coach is a wizard, drew up a great play. But why are you giving up a 3 when you're up 2? Like, if they make a 2, you go overtime, or you have 5 seconds to get a shot off. And then after they didn't have a timeout, and here we go again with my review thing. One more review tangent before I wrap this up for the year. Florida's got no timeouts. So they're screwed. They have to get the ball in and get a shot up with no plan or play, and they bail them out with a timing issue that they go to the table and review for 6 minutes. It's absolutely ridiculous. Stop with the reviews. I get texts from people all the time, and I don't read the other stuff on Twitter. Maybe people complain about it on Twitter too. If they're not, they should be. Like, it's a joke. Like, stop. Because it gave Florida time to draw up a play. Now, what the hell they drew up, I have no idea, because the guy dribbles down the floor into the paint and then they don't even get a shot off. So complete coaching malpractice in that last 10 seconds by Golden. But I know most of you guys in here don't care. It's just me going off on a rant because, like, I didn't tweet about it because I was watching the game, Utah State, but just bizarre. Anyway, all right. Yeah, very few teams match up with Arizona, obviously. You think since he would still be so high on Calhoun if he wasn't an alum? That's probably, yeah, I don't see why not, Roddy. I mean, the guy's done great things. And as I said at the top here, appreciate it, Magoon. I appreciate you being here and your kind words all throughout the season, your support, everything like that. Appreciate all that. I do think so. Like, people were raving about him. I got messages from guys that I haven't heard from in a while talking about how, like, impressed they were in other, in a roundabout way of saying it, with his stuff on Friday. There's all kind of stuff on Twitter out there about the stuff he ran and having his guys prepared. And I mean, you couldn't watch the game today and think anything other than, this guy's got his team prepared and they're freaking playing fantastic. So, I mean, if he was West Coast based, maybe not, but yeah, I mean, he's done a fantastic job, 100%. Do I see the Rams being able to keep Butler, Booth, and Rexsteiner? Could see a Bemba transfer. I agree with you on Bemba, Gartrell. I do. As far as all 3 of those guys, I would settle for 2 of them, to be honest with you. At this point, I would settle for 2. I think Butler and Booth are going to have their suitors. I think you can keep Rexsteiner and probably one of those 2. I think if you keep all 3, that's really good. I don't know if you'll be able to. So you don't think Olin will make a move again too hard with his family and not for another mid-major with similar or less resources? Well, you can hope. I hope you're right for New Mexico's sake. We'll see. The kid made a walk-off layup for the Johnnies, played for I heard that. They said Idaho on TV. Was it Idaho State? Yeah. I mean, that was crazy. With new arena, Nevada can get a leg up on scheduling. I wish they would. Alford doesn't exactly schedule the toughest in a non-con. Okay, he doesn't. He needs to step that up too. Since 2010, San Diego State has made 3 Sweet 16s, 1 Final Four national championship game. That year, you beat the overall number 1 seed. San Diego State has 13 March Madness wins versus 12 for the rest of Mountain West. Yeah, absolutely, DJ. We all know that. 4 Sweet 16s. As a conference, the conference has made 8 Sweet 16s, 4 from San Diego State, 1 each from Nevada, UNLV, Utah, BYU, and we know Utah and BYU are no longer in the conference. Jason, you'll miss if final card of Mountain West next year. Appreciate the coverage over the last couple of years. Yeah, appreciate you listening. Maybe when Evans comes back. Yeah, that's funny. It's so crazy. Like Evans, like, I mean, he got paid. Yeah, there's no doubt he got paid. And then he didn't play the second half of the year at North Carolina because he just wasn't good enough. But I mean, those are the decisions you make. You know, he got paid. Like, I mean, he has the confidence that he can go play there, but I'm not surprised, right? I'm not surprised. Yeah, you don't want another Bronco. Yeah, that would be a double sting. I get it. Although you probably benefited in the long run football-wise as long as X stays for another couple of years. But, yeah, I get it. You don't want that. All right, listen, it's 1 o'clock. I got to get out of here. Sun Cruiser, I appreciate you guys all season long. Go get some Sun Cruisers. Support the sponsors. Okay. Anyway, appreciate all of you guys being here all season long. If you were here for one episode, if you're here for 41 episodes, it's been a blast. I can't believe it's over already. It's crazy watching some of those clips in the opening, and now we're done. It just really does go fast. But, you know, when you're in the middle of it, the thick of it, and you're doing shows all the time, it does go fast. But I'll get some sleep. I will miss the shows. I'll miss interacting with you guys. Feel like I made a lot of good friends. I'm disappointed I didn't get out to the conference tournament, but, we'll see what happens moving forward. Have to figure out what we're going to do as far as coverage goes, because the fans of the conference, of the teams that we covered this year, I like to cover most of them, the ones that deserve the coverage, that have been loyal and have been fans, and, that give some good feedback and are knowledgeable about the game. And I appreciate you guys being here with me, even if you don't always agree with what I say. I know I say some goofy things sometimes, but that's all right. We don't need to agree on everything, right? So, all right, look, just stay tuned. I'll be tweeting out stuff through the rest of the tournament. I know our teams are done. I'll be following Nevada and New Mexico Tuesday and Wednesday in the NIT. I'll be watching the other tournament games Thursday through Sunday then, and watching for that stuff, staying up on the news with coaching, transfers, all of that stuff. We'll see where that stuff heads. We'll make a decision soon about what we're going to do here at some point, and I'll get that message out there. But again, one more time, appreciate all of you guys being here. It was a great thing here that BJ put together. I know some of you guys that aren't Boise fans want to give BJ some grief, but he really did do this with the conference in mind, picking somebody who was neutral. He respected my thoughts enough and my knowledge and what I did on the pod and enough to bring me on here. So I'm really grateful for that, because I had a blast. Gave me the platform to do this with his resources here, his network and all that stuff. And so that was super for me to be able to do, and I really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. I have. But for now, let's sign off. Great season, Utah State. Great season from the rest of the conference. New Mexico, Nevada, go win a couple more games in the NIT. Let's see if we can retain some players and coaches, maybe bring some other ones in, have a better year next year, all that good stuff. And all that stuff. So for the last time, you've been watching Another Night in the Mountain West. I'm your host, Tom Moser, and we'll see you guys around the way. See ya.
Get ready for the time of your life at Circa Resort and Casino, Las Vegas's newest destination for fun, featuring the world's biggest poolside tailgate party with 3 levels of action, 6 pools, and a 143-foot screen. The fun is always on deck with all the games all year long. Stadium Swim, located in downtown Las Vegas on Fremont Street. Book the time of your life today at CircaLasVegas.com.